Okay, I'm going to run through how to do these graphs on Google Sheets. So if you haven't yet opened this and finished it, you might want to come along with me as you go, or maybe one person, you could work as a partner with somebody. One person could have the video and the other person could have their Google Sheets open, and you could practice it together. These are just the practice graphs. You do need to open a new Google Sheet and start fresh for your assignment. So just to remind you of a couple of little features, you want to look along the bottom edge, and that's where you will name your page. And I've naming them according to the graph for our practice purposes, but you're going to name them with the name of your problem number. So I would click on plus, and maybe this is problem number, I don't know, 31. So I would either double click it, or you can use the down arrow and click rename, and then I'd put number 31. And you can just drag these tabs around then if you want to change the order. So you want them in the order that you would be giving your assignment. And I'm not going to use that one, so I'm going to delete it. Okay, so just to remind you, you would start with Practice Pi, which I think all the classes got in. So you just type in your titles for each of the categories. So type a degree went here, number of degrees went over here. Make sure you put your units because the graph's going to pick up these titles. And then I highlight. So to highlight, I click in the upper left cell, drag over and down so that those are highlighted. Then I come up here to this important little icon where it says Insert Chart when I highlight it, and click on that. And the program gives me some recommended charts to choose from. If the one I like isn't there, I can go to chart types and get a different one. But the one I wanted was definitely there, which is a pie chart. So I'm going to now customize that. And I'm going to change this from number of degrees. I'm going to put types of college degrees. So let's see, let's change that to types of college degrees given. Or you can use the word conferred if you don't understand that word. It's okay, given is fine. We definitely want a legend to tell us which sector is which. And you can see, of course, if I'm looking at this electronically, I can highlight the sectors to get more information, but it might be that somebody's just looking at this graph printed on a piece of paper and they can't do that. So we want to make it show that, or so that no sector stands out, because we don't want it to be skewed in any way. So I can come down here to where it says slice, and I see it says percentage, and I can say none, so that they're even Steven. Nobody gets preference that way. Nothing stands out. Okay? And when I insert this, then it puts it onto my sheet. I can just grab it and move it so that it's not covering up my table, which would be good because I will be looking at your table as far as part of your grade on your assignment, when your assignment is part of your assessment. So make sure you put that in. This part where it says pie chart and types of degrees conferred, you don't have to have that. Do remember, like, if you're concerned that your table doesn't look as neat, you can come in between the columns at the top of the column up here, and you can grab that when you get that double arrow, and you can change the width of your columns so that your whole table shows up really well. The Pareto chart, the trickiest part is you have to have the numbers in order from greatest to least. So if I had started this with my numbers not in order, so I'm going to put them not in order. So now they're not in order from greatest to least, but I want them in order. I'm not going to include the headings for this. I just include the labels along with the values. If I don't include the labels, then the labels would stay in this order and only the numbers would change, and then that would be a problem because they wouldn't be aligned correctly. So I highlight just the labels and quantities, right click, and go to sort range. I want to sort this by my quantitative data, the amount in billions, which is in column B. So I'm going to select column B. A to Z would put it in order from least to greatest. So I want it in order from greatest to least because this is a Pareto chart and it has to be in order from greatest to least. And then I click sort and it moves the label along with the quantity. So now these are in the order I want them. So now I'm going to highlight the headings and the values. Come back up here to my insert chart. I know a Pareto chart is a bar graph in descending order. This looks really good. The only thing that maybe I need to change is the title. So the title is going to be something like corporate losses. And then I don't need this legend over here. It's just kind of extra sticking out there, so I'm going to get rid of that. I put none. Each one of my bars is labeled with what it stands for. The quantities are clear. These are causes of corporate losses. This is the amount in billions. So that I think everything I need is there. So I would insert that, and that's a pretty darn good Pareto chart. And I would move it over here so it's not in the way. Okay, again, I have already done this, but when you type them in, if it looks like your words or numbers are partly covered up, then just grab that at the top and pull it over. And that's the Pareto chart. A scatter plot you've made in algebra class, and we know that a scatter plot is paired data. So these stand for the number of hours people worked and then how much money that worker made. And so this person worked 33 hours and that same person earned $12.16 an hour. So it's important that the order doesn't get messed up. And you'll notice these are not in order from greatest to least or anything like that, and that doesn't matter. But what does matter is that 33 hours has to go with $12.16 because that is one person's paired data. So once I have the data typed in, and this is given to you on your note-taking guide as well as here, we're going to highlight again. I'm going to make sure that my labels make sense. So this was the number of hours on the left, their hourly wage on the right. I'm going to click, hold, and drag until I get to the bottom. And like if yours was like mine, that some of the numbers were hidden, if you just kind of, as you're dragging, just hold it down there at the bottom, it'll go down. And then I'm going to go to my insert chart. And I'm looking for a scatter plot, and I know a scatter plot has dots on it. So at first glance, you say, well, there it is, it's all done. But we need to make some things better. One thing we need to make better is, once again, there's a label, there's a legend over here we don't need, so I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'm also concerned because if you look at these horizontal and horizontal axis, this is a little misleading. It looks like these people are making hardly any money and working hardly any hours, whereas really this is more than 25 hours. It's 28 hours, going up to 45 hours. So I want to make this more accurate. So I'm going to go to my horizontal axis. This is already selected. The title is fine, which is hours. But it says minimum and maximum. I'm going to change my minimum to 0. And my maximum is 45. I'm going to leave it at 45. So that's already better because now I see, okay, there's nobody in this group working less than 28 hours. I'm going to do the same thing for the vertical axis. To change the vertical axis, I come back up here to where it says axis, and I click and select left vertical. And once again, for my minimum, I want 0 because nobody's making less than $9 an hour, so I'm going to put 0. And the maximum here, 16 is fine. You don't need to put decimals. And now, although you might say, but Mrs. Nicklaus, now all the dots are gathered together up here in the corner. Well, statistically, that's a better graph. Statistically, that tells us, hey, all these people that they surveyed, nobody worked less than 28 hours. Nobody earned more than about $14. I don't even know if that's that point, but you can tell that they are more closely grouped, which it didn't appear before. So this is statistically a better graph. And I already inserted it. So again, I'm just going to drag it over here to the side. And hourly wages versus hours might be okay. We could also change that to be something more like hours laborers worked compared to their hourly wage. And then that's kind of a long title, but that would be okay, something like that. Okay, and then finally the time series chart. And the time series chart is always going to have units of time along the vertical axis, along the horizontal axis, and then whatever the quantities were that were being recorded. I see I've lost a number. This is 2005. So these again are in your note-taking guide. Make sure you're adding a sheet each time. To add a sheet, you always just click the plus sign and you'll get another page for your spreadsheet. You do not want to put all of these tables and graphs on one page of your spreadsheet. Each problem number that you do should have its own page, and you just click a plus sign to get a nice clean sheet. So once you've typed in all these years, and this is motorcycles registered in the United States, guess what you're going to do? You're going to click on that title, you're going to go over, and you're going to go down until you've highlighted all of them. You're going to insert a sheet, and this one's pretty good, but we're going to have to do a little bit of fixing again. So we've got our years along the horizontal axis, we've got our vertical axis, but we're going to customize it. We're going to change the title to Motorcycles Registered by Year. We're going to get rid of the legend again. We don't need it. And we're going to change the horizontal axis to start earlier because we don't want it to touch the vertical axis. This graph is supposed to float. So we're going to start at like 1998. And since now it's floating, so that's good. We don't need to change anything else there. And the vertical axis we might want to change. So I'm going to come up here and select left vertical. And I think I want it to start at 0 and go to like 8,000. Just put 8 and then look and see what that looks like. So I just hit enter and oh, no, it's touching the top. I don't like that, so I'll change it to maybe 8.5. Let's see how that looks. Well, that's getting closer. Maybe I need to go to 9. That's better. Now it's not touching the top. It's not touching either side. And that's what a time series chart should do. It should appear to be floating in the middle of the graph. Okay, and it's not distorted because I've gone from 0. It's okay that this is starting at 2000. We don't need to start at year 0 by any means, okay? But we needed space over here on the left side. So I'm going to insert that. I've got a label over here. I've got a label at the bottom. I've got a title. Everything else looks good. And again, I'm just going to grab it. I just click and hold and grab it, move it over so it's not covering up my table. So that's arranged well. And then by all means, when you're done, you want to save. Well, I guess it's Google Sheets. You don't have to save it, right? I'm so used to saving and using Excel, sorry. And the last page on my practice one here is the assignment. So that should do it for us.
Please report to the office.
I'm going to make sure that you can see all this.
To the office. Thank you.
And I will also point out that this practice sheet, the whole thing, is in your Google, is in Canvas. It's marked in Canvas so you can get to it. The assignment is also typed on your